Hey, I'm Ratzim. How you doing? It's Daf Nun Tet today. Uh, 59. I'm pretty much with you. I skipped last week doing the Daf, so now I'm pretty much on pace with you. Maybe a day ahead. But I wanna tell you that yesterday I made a big purchase. I purchased all of the Art Scroll Daf Yomi edition, the English one. There was a sale, or a chaim. I got it for 9,700 shekel. That's around $2,700. Probably got ripped off based on how much they sell for in America. But I live in Israel, so I'm happy to get. Usually it's around 12,000 shekel, so I got a good deal. I got a bargain. In Israel, it's all about getting bargains. Gotta bargain with people. So that's getting delivered around Thursday, I think. They've yet to give me a receipt. I had a conversation with the guy on the phone. His name is Avi. Um, I called up. I paid for it. I gave him my email address to give me a receipt. They never sent the receipt. I called them up again. They said, "We lost your email address." So I gave it to them again. At the end of the conversation, the guy's like, "Remember, my name is Avi. Don't forget about it." I said, "Listen, Avi, my name has been Sion Lang. You're the one who forgot about me. All right, so don't forget about me." And I think he had a rosham on him. They still haven't given me the receipt yet, so I guess it didn't have such an effect on him, impact on him. Start off today with one lesson for the Amaratim. You're always wondering, I'm calling it for the Amaratim this year. This is Daf Yomi Shir, Daf Yomi Full Daf Edition. Part of my portfolio, I started buying stocks. Biden gave Trump and Biden gave some stimulus checks, so I filed tax return. Got a lot of money, like $12,000. I put almost all of it in the stock market. Diversified my portfolio as you're supposed to do. Now the AMC stock is American Multi-Cinema stock is rising very quickly, so I'm heavily invested in that. I sold off some of my Nike stock to make today. I sold some Disney stock to be able to purchase more AMC stock. This stuff is skyrocketing. I guess I have FOMO, fear of missing out. You don't want to miss out on this meteoric rise of this AMC stock. These people are crazy. Went up 7 points yesterday for a stock that's probably should worth about $10. Anyway, part of my portfolio is an ETF, which is an exchange traded fund, which measures silver. In order to buy regular silver, to own silver, you have to have a futures contract, which is not all platforms offer that. The platform I use does not offer that. So I bought an ETF, which is basically just you're buying part of a business that themselves they own the silver. It's interesting that the question is why buy silver over gold. It's interesting that the word kesef, money, is also the same word for silver. Silver is called kesef. Now, normally, until 1970s, most governments had the gold standard. Their money was backed by actual gold. Today, most countries don't hold that much gold. I think the United States is the most, maybe like 8,000 tons or something like that. I'm not sure exactly. They have the most, but most money is fiat. Just the government decrees that it's worth that much money. So it's off the gold standard, but technically it was based on gold. Gold is considered the highest intrinsic value, gold bars. So why did I buy silver? Because silver is money, it's kesef, and stock market has a lot of secrets. You have to diversify your portfolio. Money works in strange ways. So it's interesting, the word, like I said, silver also means money. What's considered the money of the Gemara? The money of the Gemara is considered to be kesef suri, the Gemara says. Kesef suri, you could also pronounce it to be sterling. Suri sounds like sterling. Sterling is the sterling pound, the British unit, the British currency. The sterling pound, that's the full name for it, which also the word sterling is part of sterling silver. Most silver is sold at 92.5% actual silver composite of whatever you're buying of silver. It's not a pure silver. It's not 3 nines fine. Sometimes 999% is 3 nines fine. That's pretty much the purest you're going to get of silver. But most is 925. It says 925 on the silver you're buying, 92.5%. So that's called sterling silver. And the kesef of the Gemara is a sterling pound, a sterling silver. So it makes sense that the Torah calls kesef silver, because it's based on the sterling pound, which also is the same word as sterling silver, which is how most silver comes. All right, Amaratzim, you got your lesson for today. Kesef Suri, remember when you were seeing the Gemara. We'll get to it. Okay, so now we'll start Daf Nun test, the actual Gemara. I had enough of me speaking already. I can go on for a long time. Sichas Chulin, right? The Gemara says on top of the Tamid Aleph, "Viba Yisema Yisvir Lan Hakafa B'Regel Zechule Amalo Pligi D'Alfina Panim Michutz V'Hacha B'Haka B'Fligi Mar Savar Hakafa B'Yad Mar Savar Hakafa B'Regel." We had a machlokes on Nun Chem and Beis between Rabbi Yosef Glili and Rabbi Akiva. Rabbi Yosef Glili says that you start applying blood. The Kohen Gadol applies the dam, the par, and dam sawyer on the Mizbeach Hazav inside. He applies it starting from the northeast and circling around counterclockwise, going to his right, constantly going to his right in a circle until he gets to the southeast. And Rabbi Akiva says you go the opposite direction. You start in the southeast and you go all the way around clockwise to get to the northeast corner. So the Gemara says by the same alternative explanation that we're talking about machlokes is whether you learn panim michutz, because the Gemara said, Rabbi Bar Yechezkel said on Chemed Beis that there's a halacha called pino shtaponi lo yel derech yamin. When we learn from the Yam Shel Shlomo outside mechutz, we learn from the mikvah they had outside in the Azara that Shlomo built that you should go to the right side. You always go to the right side. So if you learn from chutz, if you learn from outside in the Azara to the heichal to the bifnim, so everyone would agree that you have to go to your right. So what's the machlokes here? Why does Rabbi Akiva argue? Because Rabbi Akiva holds akafa is biyad. He says you can't learn panim michutz because he learns that the akafa was done with your hand. You stood in one place in the Mizbeach Hazav, and he did it with his hand, not with his feet. He didn't circle. Mizbeach HaKitzon was very large. You had to walk from one corner to the next. The whole Mizbeach Hazav was only Amma by Amma, the top, so therefore you did it with your hand, so you don't learn from the Pnim, and you can go, and therefore you go to your left. Like Rabbi Akiva said, that really you come out from the south side, from the Kodesh HaKodashim, so therefore you start in the southeast. Really, everybody holds, both Rabbi Akiva and Rabbi Glili hold that Hakafa is done with your hand. One opinion holds that you learn Yad Mireg. According to Rabbi Yosef Glili, he learns Yad Miregel, just like the when you do it with the regel, when you do it when you walk the Mizbeach HaKitzon with your feet, you do it in the right, going towards your right, counterclockwise. So too, you learn from, you do it with your yad. He would hold, or basically would agree that you do akafa biyad, you don't move. But you learn yad miregel, and Rabbi Akiva doesn't learn yad miregel. Some realistically the akafa biyad, or realistically is possible to say he really held that you just stand there. In the Mishnah it says, Elazar says that he would actually stand there and he would do akafa biyad. He would just put blood on it with his hand, extend his hand to put the blood on the four corners of the Mizbeach HaPnimi. And Yosef Glili argues him in that Mishnah, so he couldn't hold akafa biyad. So Ela mechavarti l'shanim mikara. So it must be the first answer is the better answer. Mar savar akafa biyad, Mar savar akafa b'regel. That Rabbi Akiva is the one who holds that you do hakafa biyad, and therefore you don't learn panim yichutz. And Rabbi Yosef says you do hakafa b'regel, you have to actually walk. So the Gemara continues, and it says, "V'yiba yisema b'hakim efli marsavar savet mizbeach pnimi kesavet mizbeach chitzon marsavar kule mizbeach pnimi b'makom chad keren mizbeach chitzon kai." Now, the Gra takes out the words "v'yiba yisema." This is basically saying the same thing as we just said before. That one opinion holds that Rabbi Akiva holds that the whole mizbeach pnimi is like one keren, is like one corner of the mizbeach hachitzon. Just like one corner of the mizbeach hachitzon would measure 1 amma by amma. The whole top of the mizbeach hazav measure 1 amma by 1 amma by 1 amma. So therefore, you do a kafa biyad. And Rabbi Yosef Glili says no, that it's the saviv of the, when it says saviv in the pasuk when it's mizbeach hapnimi, it also is the same saviv as mizbeach hachitzon, and you do it with your regel. So it's really basically the same answer we just gave before. Amar Rabbi Shmuel, Shnei Kohanim Gedolim Nishtaru Mikdash Rishon, Zelmer biyadi hikafti, v'zelmer b'ragli hikafti. 2 Kohanim Gedolim were left over from Mikdash Rishon. The Gras takes out Rishon because the article explains that there really was no machlokes until much later on, until the Tanoim, which lived much later on. So Zelmer biyadi hikafti, Zelmer b'ragli hikafti. One says he did it. He actually walked around Mizbeach Hapnimi, Kohen Gadol, and one Kohen Gadol says that he actually did it with his hand. He didn't move. Zenos in Talmud Dvarav, Zenos in Talmud Dvarav, Zenos in Talmud Dvarav. Saviv Mizbeach Pnimi, Kesav Mizbeach Chitzon. He says when it says the word Saviv, it's the same Saviv as Mizbeach Chitzon. Zenos in Talmud Dvarav, Kule Mizbeach Pnimi, Mokom Chada Keren the Chitzon Kai. That, like we said before, that Rabbi Akiva would hold, and this Kohen Gadol testified, presumably in Mikdash Sheni he did this, that it's like one corner of the Mizbeach HaPnimi is like, of the Mizbeach HaChitzon is the same thing as the entire Mizbeach HaPnimi, and therefore you did a kafa biyad, not a kafa b'regel. The Mishnah continues, who's our Mishnah? Rabbi Yehuda, it's Rabbi Yehuda, the son, you're a mayor, Omer, Rabbi Lezer, Omer, Mkoma, Omer, Mechate, Valkulan, Ayanosim, Mimala, Lamata. He says that, like we said before, he would do a kafa biyad, like Rabbi Ezra's shita. He does a kafa biyad. He stands where in his place, and he would put on all 4 corners, and all 3 of the corners he would put mimalu lamata. Meaning, basically, he holds his hand like this. Is the way I explained it, and he would flick it lamata on the thing, except for the one all the way directly diagonally across from him. There he would do mimata lamala. Rabbi Yehuda Omer, Rabbi Lezer Omer Mekoma Omer Machate, Velkulan Anosim Lamata Lamala, Chut Mizush Haisal Lefonov, Mamish Anosim Mimala Lamata, Kihechid Lo Nitvasan Mani. Rabbi Yehuda argues, he says a different opinion of Rabbi Lezer. He says, again, like Rabbi Lezer's shita is, he would stand where he was. The question is, well, which way would he do it? So he says that in all 3 corners that were away from him, and then they were a little bit away from him, he would do milmata lamala. He would go up like this and sprinkle up like that, except for the one that was closest to him, right by that corner. He was standing in that corner. He couldn't go like this and that, because if he went like this, the blood on his hand would go back on his clothes. So therefore, he had to hold the blood like this and sprinkle forward so it wouldn't go on his clothes. My tiro. Let's consider, what does the word tiro mean? Where is that on Mizbeach? We would spill the rest of the blood 7 times on the tiro sham Mizbeach. Where's the tiro? Amar Rabbi Bar Shela palge the Mizbeach. The middle of the Mizbeach. The Amri Inshi tir tira. The brightness brightened. The heavy palge the Yoma. And it was the brightest point of the day, and it was the middle of the day. It says when he would actually sprinkle his blood on the Mizbeach Hazav, the actual face of it, he wouldn't do it on the coals, and he wouldn't do it on the ashes. He would remove it. It had to be a clean place, and the middle wasn't a clean place. Amar Rav Shela al Giluy the Mizbeach. Tira on the Mizbeach means the empty space in Mizbeach. Like the Shemayim was clear. It was clear. It was empty. Tanya Chananya Omer besad Tzfoni, you know what I'm saying? Rabbi Yossi Omer besad Dromi. Where was this place that was empty? So Chananya says it was on the north side, and Rabbi Yossi says it was on the south. Rabbi Yossi says it was on the south side. Who knows? Who knows? Michael Mifli. What's Machlokes? Marsar or Pischa b'Daram Kai. Marsar or Pischa b'Safon Kai. Question is, where was the exit from the Kodesh HaKadoshim to the Heichal? Was it in the north or the south? So therefore, if it was in the north, so you started from the north and you went around to the south, and you did it on the south. And if it was in the north, and if you came out of the south and you started in the south with the putting on the Mizbeach Hazav, and you ended up in the north, and you put it on the north part. Wherever you finish placing on the four corners, there you poured the rest of it. You pour the 7 sprinklings on the Tiro Shamizbeach. My time, what's the reason? Amar Krab, Tiro Vikitro, Makom Shakitro Sham Tiro, the place where you finished doing the Kiddush by putting it on the corners, there you did the Tiro, the Taro. Sharei Hadam Yashofech Arisam Aravi Shamizbeach Achitzon. And the rest of the blood he would take and he would pour on the western part of the Mizbeach HaChitza, on the western base. What's the reason? The Amar Krav is called Ahapar Yishpoch. It says in the Pasav as called Ahapar Yishpoch. Rashi adds in, Rashi in the Ramaskal, the Amar Krav, Gabi Par Kohen Mashiach, is called Ahapar. Tani B'Toras Kohen, Hapar, the Rabos Par Yom Kippurim. This Pasuk is talking about a different korban. It's talking about Par Kohen and Mashiach. Kohen Gadol makes a ruling that's not true and acts upon it. But Hapar comes to include the Par Yom Kippurim. Sheyu Shiarav Nishpach Nisod Asher Pesach Al Moed Zay Sod Ma'aravi. The end of the pasuk says Asher Pesach Al Moed, closest to the entrance to the Al Moed. The Al Moed was the closest part of the Mizbeach HaChitzon to the Al Moed was the western part. So therefore, Asher Pesach Al Moed, you do it in the western part. Now, interestingly, this Lashon the Gemara says, when you leave the Heichal, this is the first part you encounter, the western part, the western base. It seems, Tosas points out, that based on this Lashon, it's like other places in Mesechus Yoma, it's telling you it's a din of Ein Ma'avir Al Mitzvos. You don't pass over on mitzvos, and the first base that you encounter is the western base, so you pour it there. So why is Rashi learn Asher Pesach Al Moed? It's because of Gzeras HaKosov. It's because of Ein Ma'avir Al Mitzvos. Tosas therefore takes out this Girsa V'chinavu Paga B'Reisha. I had a discussion with my wife last night, and there's a little bit low turnout for my shiurim. No one's really listening. No one seems too interested. So you'll see in my part 2, if you listen to it on Nuntes, I gave that already yesterday. That was the Chiddush on Daf Nuntes, and it revolves around this question I just asked right now. And basically my answer came up with, I'll tell you my answer soon, but came out with a different shot than Rashi. I would left the Girsa in, and I really said the reason is not Gzeras HaKosov, not like Rashi. It's Ein Ma'avir Al Mitzvos. And the Chiddush was that Shficha is considered to be a mitzvah, and that's why the word I didn't quote the pasuk Asher Pesach Al Moed. It's just quoted as Kol Damar Par Yishpoch, and it says Yishpoch. Tell you that Shficha is a mitzvah. We don't have a meaning that Shficha, pouring it on the Yisod, is not a mitzvah. Kamashmon, Shficha is a mitzvah, and that's why the Gemara brings the pasuk to tell you Yishpoch. There's a commandment of doing Shficha. It's a mitzvah, and therefore Ein Ma'avir Al Mitzvos. So it would come out like Rashi and not like Tosos. So is there a Rishon that says like me? Maybe. I don't know. Go to Otzar Chachma. I don't know. I can't afford that right now. I already just bought a Schottenstein English edition Shas, so can't afford that right now. But you go check it out. Hope if there's someone Otzar Chachma, so then I can say my Chiddush. If not, my wife told me that you can't argue on Rashi. She said her father used to say my father-in-law was the Rebbe at the Yeshivas Nevei Tzion, and a Talmud was once learning with my father-in-law, and he says Rashi doesn't make any sense. So my father-in-law characteristically said to him, No, you don't make any sense. Rashi makes sense. You don't make any sense. You don't understand Rashi. Rashi's the one that makes sense. She gave me a whole list of shmooze last night. She said, that's why no one's listening to your shiurim. You make up your own chidushim. You go against Rashi, against Tosos, against the Rishonim. You think you're your own Rishon. What do you think? You're the Vilna Gaon? She didn't say that, but the Vilna Gaon was known to argue on Rishonim. So all I can say is, hopefully there's a Rishon that says like me out there somewhere. You're right, I'm not on a level to argue on a Rishon. But we'll call it Lule Soraska. Lule Divrei Rashi. Lule Soraska. If it were not for Rashi saying it, you could say my pshat. So we'll leave it at that. And my Chidush, I'm going to have to try to say it a little differently, to work within the Rishonim, to be an Achron and not a Rishon. Yeah. It says that the Rishonim were greater, right? The Rishonim were greater than the Achronim. If the Rishonim were like Malachim, were like Bnei Adam. If the Rishonim were like Bnei Adam, then we're like Chamorim. Go listen to my share on Shkolim. About that Gemara. No, but seriously, in all seriousness, my wife is right. The Masorah that we have right now is that we don't argue on Rishonim unless you can find a Rishon that says like you. And La'alacha, even if you find a Rishon that says like you, if Rov of the Rishonim don't say it like you can't really follow that Rishon technically. That's the truth. So maybe there's a Rishon that says like me, maybe not. But until then, we're going to have to either say Lule Saraska, or we're going to have to come up with a different Chiddush that more like the Briska style of Chidushim, the Chakiras. They take the halacha and make a Chakira, and make nafkaminas la halacha, or maybe not nafkaminas la halacha, but basically it's just dealing with the Achronim, not the Rishonim. Not as much fun, but Gemara is not all about fun, The fun is listening to me give a shir, right? even a regular Daf Yomi shir could be fun. All right, so back to the Gemara. So the Gemara says, the Mishnah says that the blood from the Mizbeach HaChitzo, not from Yom Kippur, they would pour on the southern base of the Mizbeach HaChitzo. Tanarabana, Yisod HaMizbeach is a Yisod Dromis. It says Yisod HaMizbeach, we know that's Yisod Dromis. Ata Omer is Yisod Dromis, so Eino El Yisod Marovis. Maybe it's the western base. Amar Yilmad Yeridasam Nakevish Litziyasam Nehechal. My Yitziyasam Nehechal B'samach. Just like a Kohen Gadol, when he comes out of the Heichal, he pours it the closest place, which is the Yisod Maravi. When he comes down from the ramp going up to the Mizbeach HaChitzon, the ramp is in the south side, so therefore you pour it next to it on the south side. Now we have two different opinions. That argument we just said. Rabbi Shmuel says both the blood from Yom Kippur and the regular blood from the Mizbeach HaChitzon both go to the western Yisod. We pour them there. Rabbi Shimon Yochai Omer Zev is Yisod Dromi. Shimon Yochai says both of them go to the southern side. So now we have three opinions in total. Bishlam Rabbi Shmuel Kasavar Yilmat Sasam Mufurish. Shmuel holds you learn what's not stated from what's explicitly stated. We had a pasuk that we learned before, that you pour, the Kohen Gadol pours it on the western side, so therefore, even the chitzon, you also pour on the western side. Ela Rabbi Shimon ben Yochai, my time. I'm Rabbi Ashi Kasar Pischa B'Darim Kai. He says when the Kohen Gadol exited the Kodesh, the Heichal, he would exit on the southern side, and therefore he was technically closer to the southern side than the western side. Therefore, he always poured on the southern side. In the academy of Rabbi Shimon ben Yochai, his yeshiva, they taught both of them are Yisod Dromis. You pour both bloods on Yom Kippur, and also the regular you pour on the southern side. They quoted Rabbi Shmuel as saying that Rabbi Shmuel was Choserbo, that multiple people, the academy of Shimon Yochai had a lot of Talmidim, so they took the one person, Rabbi Shmuel's Shita, and they transformed it to both pourings going on both on the Yisod, the southern side, not the western side. This is part of the Mishnah that both bloods would mix together and they would go out to the Amma, to the stream of water, blood, water going through the Azara. It would go actually eventually go out to Nachal Kidron. So the Gemara says, "Tanarban molin bedamim divrei Meir Rabbi Shimon v'chamrom omrim ein molin behen." There's machlokas whether you can have meila. Meila is when you use kudshim, unauthorized use of kudshim for your own purposes. You're not allowed to do that. You do it, you pay a chomish. There's a concept that by blood there's no meila. If you use blood for your own purposes, there's no meila. According to the Rabbana, but Rabbi Meir and Rabbi Shimon says there is meila. So the Gemara explains the machlokas. Ad kan lo pligi ela bin Rabbana. Even Rabbi Meir and Rabbi Shimon say when there's meila by damim that you can't. There is meila. That's only with the Rabbana. Rashi explains. L'shalom karen, that you're gonna have to return the value of whatever you use for yourself. Aval midaraisa ein molin behen. Midaraisa, to pay a chomesh, to pay an extra fifth. There's no meila. On the rice level, there's no meila by blood. So everyone agrees to that. So the Gemara says, "Menani mili." Where do you know that from? Amar ula, Amar kra lachem. The pasuk says lachem by blood. Shalachem yehei. It's telling you that blood midaraisa belongs to you. There's no meila. The Beir Rabbi Shimon Tana lechaper. Another pasuk by blood. Lechapar nesati v'lo meila. I gave blood to you to atone for your sins, but not for meila, that you, by desanctifying it, by using it for your own purposes, you'd be chayav and meila. Rabbi Yochanan Amar, a third makor for this, Amar Kra, who, lifnei, it says who, by blood. Lifnei kapar k'l'achabar, remains in the same state. So we learn out, before the kapara is enacted, is like after the kapara is enacted. Mala'acha kapara ein bo meila. Just like after the kapara was done, the blood was spilled on the mizbeach, there's no meila with the blood. Even therefore, blood, even when you right after you shech the animal and you haven't poured on the mizbeach yet, you haven't sprinkled on the mizbeach yet, ain't bo meila. Be'im alacha kapara kilifnei kapara. So we're just maybe say the opposite. We're saying it's always the same status, just like mal lifnei kapara yesh bo meila, and just like lifnei kapara, we would assume that there is meila by the blood before you use it. Aflacha kapara yesh bo meila. So to after you used it, there should be meila. So the Gemara says, "Ein lechadavar shenasis mitzvah molin bo." The Gemara says you can't say it that way, because then it would come out that there's meila acha kapara, and once the mitzvah was done, you did kapara, you poured the blood on the mizbeach, you sprinkled the mizbeach, or you poured it on the yesod, according to my chiddush. Once the mitzvah is done, you can't have meila anymore. That's a klal, and the Gemara is going to challenge that on the next stop. We'll leave it here today. That's where we'll get up to, and tomorrow I'll explain how my chiddush fits into this drasha over in the Chadavar Shnasim Sasso Molinbo, and it'll be either the first edition of Luli Sarascha or the first edition or the last edition of my own chiddush. See you tomorrow. Take care. Bye.